Hey guys, what's going on? It is 10 o'clock on the dot. I finally could manage to do this at the right time. Um, I want to welcome everyone to the Wednesday podcast 721. Um, Today is going to be kind of a little bit of a hard topic to cover just because people suck, right? Um, so I do want to start off uh, with kind of something a little special um, in honor of the people that this is actually affecting. Um, and our BullHouse community is definitely um, feeling kind of sad about it tonight. So we're gonna take 10 seconds or so, a moment of silence for the people affected from the Las Vegas shooting, because that is what we're gonna be talking about tonight. So if we can just have that moment. Um, Let me pause this.
Hannah, do you want to put the picture up?
Yes, that's what I'm getting ready to do. Um, I'm just trying to make sure everything's there. All right. So if we'll just have a moment of silence for everyone. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. This is actually pretty big for me too. My sister herself, her and her husband had some friends affected that were there, and they did lose a friend. So I'm definitely shaken the fact that this is even a possibility. And for those that don't know what is going on, I will be continuing to share my screen uh, after we kind of dive into this, right? Um, Let me close that out. We discovered something that I am completely baffled. So, lady, you and your husband were really the ones that kind of uncovered this. So if you want to really touch base and go full into it, I will get the other stuff ready and we can kind of show the audience and everyone what we're talking about.
Sure. So earlier today, there was some things floating around Twitter about the the bots really coming out in regards to AMC on a YouTube video saying that they're going to sell at 300, and 300 seems to be the bot's new floor. And so, anyways, it was being circulated on Reddit and as well as Twitter. And I retweeted it, and my husband texted me and he says, "Hey, those names on that picture that you tweeted out, those are people, those are victims of Las Vegas. I've Googled it, and they ended up switching the images with the people's names, but they're still very much the people's names. It's still very much their images. They're just switched." And I found it very disturbing. And of course, I shared it on Twitter with everyone, and it was heavy hearted and a whole new low. I mean, we all know that they go to great lengths to win in a sense, but what we can't do is identify the original source of the photo, the original source of the video. There's a rumor out there about whose video it is and all of that, but we are having a hard time identifying. And I did Kenna actually was able to locate the original picture posted on Reddit under AMC stock, I believe, the subreddit.
Yes, it is under AMC. I have it pulled up here on the YouTube that they're talking about it. And if you actually go through the comments, they came out and people were saying, yeah, these are people from the Las Vegas shooting and everything. So, I mean, the word's getting out about all of this, definitely. And I pulled up the two articles that you can just Google basically about the two victims that have been named as bots, and I can't
And
even.
I think that's what identified or like kind of sent off some red flags for my husband, is that typically on YouTube or Twitter, you don't usually use your name or your full name, and he noticed that they use their full name, but then also the names are quite striking. They're not your Johnson or Smith or something like that, and so he Googled it, and sure enough, um, we were able to find this. Now, I did reach out to the original poster on the Reddit post, but I'm unfortunately reaching a dead end, and he does not seem like a reliable source, unfortunately.
Yep. So if we can kind of call out to everybody and say, hey, if you can figure out where these are from, or if you guys see any more of these or with these names, I really want to find out where these are coming from, and I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to know who's doing this, because that is like we've said, that is the newest low of low that you could possibly ever do, is use people's names that were a victim of such a tragedy, and not, I mean, and it's to do what? Like, we've been questioning the hedge funds, whether it's a hedge funds or just some troll or whatever. Like, I don't care. You have to be the most despicable human being to do something like that. I mean, you're no longer just affecting the apes. That's why my own tweet said that it's no longer just about the apes. We have to stand up as a world, a global community, because it's no longer just apes. You're now wrapping people into this that they might not have anything to do with any of this. Like, you're putting, someone's name and, if it was originally their face or anything out there. And what happens if their family members might be a part of this, watching that YouTube video? Oh my God, could you imagine? Could you effing imagine what that would do to somebody? I cannot even believe that this is a thing. I mean, it's one thing to, do shill attacks and maybe send some death threats to people that are here and there, and because, you just suck. You just suck as a human, but this is the scum of the earth. Like, there's no words for it.
I think what we could do is be proactive, like you were saying, Kenna. And when we're seeing shills and bots and on YouTube's or any source, I think it would be just kind of quickly do a Google search. I mean, I think that's what I think. We have the power and we have the tools to be able to identify it, especially if they are actually using people that are victims or are deceased. I think we have that, ability to do it. Google is a very powerful tool.
Yeah. Oh,
so
100%.
Yeah. So
because, like, I actually have the list now of victims, so I can at least compare and contrast, and I encourage everybody to kind of do that same thing, as pull up a list. And if it's a name that looks familiar, we need to start reporting it. We really need to start getting on top of that. And I don't know, like, there's a reason, I tagged the friggin' president and being like, what is going on? Like, this is my little segment that I'm trying to come up with here. And it's gonna, I don't know, Tyler's already like, if you're not on a list, or if you weren't on a list already, you probably are now at this point. But at this, they need to wake up, right? Like, you have our entire nation screaming at each other for God only knows what, and screaming for help, and it's falling on deaf ears. The financial sector, it's, not being heard. It's the real estate, it's education, security, like, you name it, the nation is screaming for help, and they're up in DC bickering about who's right and who's wrong about God only knows what. Like, I cannot fathom that we are in such a timeline right now that our government, the people who's supposed to be leading our country, has more concern about whose pockets they're lining right now versus helping the country survive. And that baffles me. That I cannot believe. Like, oh, well, we need to have this stimulus check, this stimulus package, but, only X amount is actually going to go to the American people. This part's going to go to another country, and this part's going to go to another country, and this part's going to go to our buddy here in DC because, well, they're just good people. Like, there needs to be some big change. Like, we we just got a new president in, and I'm over here still harping that we need change. Like, can somebody answer that one for me? Because I feel like we are back in '08, and Citadel Air posts something up today about Canada and their, 0% mortgages and things. Like, was that just Canada or certain sectors? I didn't get to read the full thing, Citadel. If you're there.
No, I'm sorry, my mic was stuck. It was nationwide. It brought me back to the subprime loans that we had here, circa 2008, and it's trending up there now.
And they're already in a bubble.
Like, right, that's the scary part.
God, so those that don't know, the States, we went through our bubble back in '08, and granted, we're still in a bubble, and it's just whatever. But they never actually popped. Like Vancouver, Toronto, and all of that, if Shark Bait or Tears was on here, they'd tell you. Their bubble that they're in right now, it's made of glass at this point. It's just like one little pinprick away from just imploding. And now they're doing these subprime mortgages. Oh my God! And when did they enact it? Is it just recent, Citadel?
I believe it's fairly recent, but let me pull the article to double check. They may have been available for a little bit prior to that, but it's kind of just become more prevalent or attractive, kind of like the ninja loans. We're kind of the last facet before the bubble popped here. Let me take a look.
Thank you. So yeah, oh Lord, and then so why does this concern us? Well, one, BullHouse, we watch all the markets, right? We watch Canada, we watch the States, we watch Europe and Asia, we watch it all, but at the same time, there's a lot of Canadians that have secondary homes in the States, especially here in Florida. My neighbors behind me, they're Canadian. My husband looked at their address and stuff and tried to figure out, because no one had been there. We've lived here, we're going on our 3rd year now, and no one's been there for almost a year and a half. And so we were like, okay, do we need to figure out if someone's okay? What's going on with this house? And, sure enough, they were Canadian, so, borders are closed, they can't get down here or whatever, so, okay, that made sense. And eventually the yard got mowed and whatnots. But why this is important is if people start losing their homes in Canada, well, the first things they're going to start, trying to sell off or getting rid of is their homes here in the States. They're not going to lose their secondary homes here, because that's not how that works. They don't have citizenship here, so I am very curious to see exactly how it plays out in that sense. When I'm not gonna say if, when Canada's real estate bubble bursts, how that's gonna affect our market, because they do own, they're in Washington, California, Arizona, Nevada, Florida, they're everywhere. We have Canadians everywhere that own homes over here. So, were you able to find that? Hey, Ani, what's going on?
I did. I posted a graph from the Bloomberg article, actually. So it looks like it, picked up in late Q3 2019, then Q1 2020 it kind of took off.
Jeez, that's crazy. Oh. So yeah, hi Ani.
Hi, how are you guys? Sorry.
Long time no see. How's it going?
I finally got some time today. No, it's all right. Just busy with the baby and some side things that have been preoccupying me for a little bit. And trying to make some money on the side as well. I got burned badly, so I need to make that
Oh,
money back
I'm sorry.
badly. Yeah.
Oh, trust me, most of us that are holding meta, we're like, all right, do we look
Oh yeah,
today? Today was
that's
a
another
good
one.
day. Like Bird, like I will like okay, so for those that don't know, like I slept until 2:30. Like I woke up at 10 cuz well, with all my health stuff going on, like my arms were numb, half my legs were numb, like it was not a good situation. But I woke up, had some cereal and was checking the stocks and I was like, "Well, heck yeah, like I'm actually not doing too bad today. I'm pretty happy. You know, AMC was up, GameStop was up, Verb was up. I mean, it was all up today, and so I was okay. And then I woke up at 2:30, and I was like, well, I should have stayed awake just a little bit longer and slept through all the rest of the afternoon. But what do you do?
Good night, lady.
Yes, I'm actually going to have to go, you guys, but I might be able to join you in a little while, but I have to go for right now. Ani, it's great to hear you again. I miss you, dear friend.
I know.
So I'm glad you're able to find a moment to come back in.
Yeah, I know. I sent my wife upstairs to put the baby to sleep. She started crying, so.
Oh, so you're here temporarily, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're happy you're here. And I did pull up 2 other people to join the conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and slip out. Wish you guys a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Hey,
Good
Wall
night.
Street Viking, what's going on? To the moon.
So, I'm one of the founders of Vape Festival, and I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we were attacked so much, but I actually have friends who were at the show in Vegas, and what we saw today was absolutely disgusting. And we need to find out who's behind that shit, to be perfectly honest with everybody, because even when we were and disagree with us, that's fine. Like I said, I'm glad it's over, but there was a lot of attacks coming out of there, and I'm not going to say where in specific, but there were bot attacks of sell at 100 and buy Ape Fest. That's not coming from us. No, it's not. And I know I'm not a hedge fund. And then this comes out today. That's I took it as a threat too, and it's disgusting. It's quite frankly fucking disgusting. And I think the community needs to try to figure out where are these people coming from, because it's gotten past a point of just shills and bots, in my opinion. And while I'm here, sorry for any FUD or anything that was spread by us, but I'm glad it's over. It's such a weight lifted off my shoulders.
I bet. And I will apologize, but I didn't agree with Ape Fest celebrating early.
That's fine. No, that's fine. And look, I'm not here to argue my point. The reason we did it is to ensure it wasn't a fire festival. We picked dates so that way we could ensure that we had something to deliver to people, but I'm happy it's over.
I bet.
And that's fine. And I totally get disagreement. In fact, on the Twitter post, what haters were the people issuing death threats and doxing people on our end and putting people's families at risk, like serious shit. That came across wrong. So
there is no. We talked about this on Monday. Like, I don't care who you are and what you've done. There is no need to be doxing people. That is an invasion of privacy. That is, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like, you had the super stonk mods getting doxed. You had, people. I mean, it's creepy. It's fucking creepy, and you don't need to be doing it.
It's never as creepy as until it happens to you, and when you're just. And honestly, and this is people who are you? Well, this is all I'm willing to say is I'm just a regular ape who has experience, and I've worked on awesome shows and wanted to do something myself. That's what we're here for. That's the dream, right? I mean, it's beyond just stocks. It's changing our lives, and and I'm a family guy, like regular guy. I don't make tons of money. You know what I mean? I have partners. It's different, whatever. But like to have it happen to you is like, dude. Not worth it. Whether and there were a lot of people that did support us, but even then it was just like, look, I'm sorry, like this is just but back to the point that the bots is something has to be done. I mean, and in my opinion, and this is just an opinion and speculation, I'm not going to point fingers at anyone, but I will say I don't believe it's coming from hedge funds at all anymore. I don't.
Oh, can we hear your thought? Because I mean, this is what we're here for. Like this, you will not get taken away or anything like that. Like I wanna get to the bottom of this. I wanna hear legitimate people's responses. And hey, Remedy, what's going on? Kevin Morgan, I'm seeing you too. I know you said that a little bit earlier, but I'm just now getting to the comments on YouTube. So thank you guys for being in there. But yeah, Wall Street.
I personally think that it's either. God, I don't even want to. Okay, so I think it's either a troll, right? Just a regular troll, or it's somebody within the community, whether for one stock or another, that's spreading. I don't see them doing that at this level. And not only that, if you think about it, the royal they, right? As the Big Lebowski would say, the royal they.
Yeah, right.
They know that we're not that stupid. You know what I mean? They know that we see these and we automatically know what they are. So it's obviously not the hedge funds they're smart people. Like they're playing chess, and that's why we haven't squeezed yet. Like, and then they know, like, so I just don't see it being them. I see it being somebody within the community doing it, almost trying to enrage and pump up the community. But no matter what it is, it's cross lines. That's for sure.
100%. Tudamoon, do you have something to add to all of this?
So as usual, I try and listen, and I feel a little bit like, okay, I need to be keeping up with all the social media stuff. So let me just sort of make sure I'm understanding what I think I've heard, and this is coming from somebody who used to work for the same government that I've watched. I'm like, man, we screw with people. It's like, man, listen, I don't want to know things. So I'm just going to sort of ask, am I understanding that there was some sort of bots that were using people's names from the Las Vegas shootings, and they were trying to get involved with the MC stock community? Okay.
They're okay. So actually, Tim Titan, I know you said you're late. You're not late. We're really not talking about stocks too much. We're talking about the despicable way that we're seeing shit happen right now, and how like the ape community is actually being kind of targeted. But yes. So what happened to the moon is and if you can.
Well, I heard everything you said. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Ken, I've been here from the moment you started the podcast.
Oh, no,
I'm just not on social media, so I had to sort of listen to what y'all were saying, and I think I understand it enough. That's why I kind of regurgitated the back to you. So my thoughts are, I definitely believe it's going to be the hedge funds that ultimately started the wheels in motion, but they are going to have. Their hands are going to be able to be held up and say, no, we just hire a third party. We're not responsible for the content. And they'd be true. I mean, they sort of, the thieves are going to hire thieves, and they know how to protect each other. So my thoughts are going to be, I think the hedge funds hire a third party company who writes software to scrub names. And think about it. It would be less liability for them to use a deceased person's name than a real person's name, because a real person can take them to court and sue for damages a lot more than a deceased person could. And Citadel or whoever is going to say, we don't know what tactics they're using. We might admit that we hired them, but we're not responsible for the content. So Citadel will be in the clear. And from a legality perspective, I think it makes total sense that they would rather prefer deceased people than somebody that goes, wait a minute, this is my name, and you just, committed slander against my name by making these statements. So while I completely, Kenna, everything that you said is despicable, low among low, but I think you need to keep it in perspective. I don't think there's really a human factor involved. I think it's a software program that just goes and skims names.
Well, so
they go to look at the names.
I do want to say, the families themselves could sue for damages, and that's psychological damage, let's face that. And and guilty by association, right? Like, that's a thing. If you hire someone and you're paying them for their service or whatever, then you should have literally done your research on the company and what they were doing. So to me, like, No, there is no human factor. I mean, fuck no. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like, that's what we say is the difference between the ape community and the hedge funds or whatever, is that we have that human factor. We have that compassion and that empathy. And I don't see...
And I'm not trying to discredit anything that you're
No,
feeling
you're
at all. I'm just trying to kind of keep it in perspective in the scheme of how does this play out in court if we put our finger on it and say, here's who's doing it, and somebody goes off and decides who we're going to start suing. I just think from the hedge fund's perspective, they're not going to really have that much accountability. It's going to mean anything more than fines, which we already know they don't care about paying fines. And to the third party company, you know, if they do this stuff for a living, they probably know exactly what type of names and the reasons they can use them and not. I don't think it was specifically to be done in bad taste. I just don't think they, you know, I mean, we are our own community, but in the scheme of things, we're a small segment of people compared to the rest of the nation. I'm sure if the rest of the nation got to see the nuts and bolts from start to finish, they would be completely on your side too, Kenna. But I don't know that I don't know that I'm going to rely on our judicial system to make the American population available, or the nuts and bolts available to the American population. I mean, you can almost get a governing body behind this movement. And, you know, good luck with trying to figure out who that's going to be, because, you know.
You're breaking. Hold on, Tudamoon, you're breaking up real quick. I don't know if you're just talking too loud for your mic or something, but it was just.
Just please don't take it as being disrespectful. I don't mean any disrespect for your feelings. I feel them too. I just think you kind of need to try and keep it in a little bit of a perspective of, if we do put our finger on it, don't be disappointed if nothing can get done.
Oh, 100%. I'm never disappointed anymore. That set sail a long time ago. Wall Street, what were you going to say?
I just don't.
I do want to say, Tudamoon, if you can mute your mic, but if you're not talking, just so we don't have feedback. Thank you.
I was just going to say, I just think it's too much of a coincidence out of all the things that have happened in the United States over the past 10 years that that's the one that those names came from. You know what I mean? Like, it felt, like I said, to me, it felt like I took it as almost like a threat even, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But anyway, I am gonna bounce out here in a minute. I really appreciate you covering this subject, and like, yeah, because it sucks. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, I love this community. I never thought I'd be so relentlessly attacked as I was, but I understand that there was a lot of misinformation being spread, and maybe our drop wasn't the best, but there was a lot of crazy shit that went down. But I just don't see it being a coincidence. I think there's more to it, but I appreciate you guys covering this for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And you shouldn't have been attacked. Like I said, like, you know, from my point of view, like, you know, to have Chad and Ape Fest and everything, like even ApeCon, like I don't know, like I am so sketched out with like a big collaboration type thing before a MOASS. Even after, I'm kind of sketched out with, I'm not gonna lie, like, you know.
Yeah, no, you know, I get it, and I just want everyone to know that the intent was pure, you know, like, and we talked to a lot of people about it beforehand, you know, on different Discords, not on this one, but oh, that's a great idea, oh, that'd be fun, like, well, okay, let me well, why not, you know? So I mean, for whoever's listening, and not everyone's going to believe it, but, you know, the intent was pure, and that much I can promise you. And that's why I was just like, at that point, it's like, you know what, we heard you, it's over, don't even worry about it, move on, right. You know. Well, but
yeah, the only downside I would have told you is, you know, it could be, you know, that collusion thing, right? Like, oh, you guys are getting together, you're like this thing, and you're, you know, a collusion type. That was my only main hiccup with it. Like, I didn't care if people, you know, guys, do what you want to do with your money. If you want to buy tickets to things, go buy tickets. If you want to go to the movies, if you want to spend extra money that's not into AMC, guys, go do it. Go live your life, because we don't know when the MOASS is going to happen. You cannot just sit here and suffer through life while you wait for something to happen. Like, that's not... To me personally, my opinion, not financial advice, whatever all the goofy stuff we have to say is, you cannot make your life worse or in a poorer state. You know, you got to pay your bills, you got to keep your roof, you got to make sure your car insurance is up to date and everything. Like, you've got to be doing this stuff. Because at the end of the day, this will ruin you if you don't stay on top of your life, right? So just heed that warning. Like if I can, I feel like that's my for some reason my little thing that I have to continue to tell people is continue to live your life. This could be next week. It could be 3 years from now. If these stocks get tied up into some kind of weird lawsuit, we know that they can halt it for 3, 6, 10 months or however long until that litigation is done, right? Like you just have to be mindful of what's going on and stop attacking people. Like this is the whole thing. Apes don't fight apes, right? Like we shouldn't be doxing each other. We shouldn't be outing people like what's happened on Super Stonks. We shouldn't be, getting into people's personal lives and releasing this information. That's slander. It's harassment. It's illegal. I'll put that out there. It is illegal, and I have many documents now of different cases and laws and everything for people. If you guys want it, if you've been harassed, get a hold of me. I have all of this stuff. You guys have things that you can do to take measures and protect yourself or whatever, because no one should have to deal with that. Like stalking, it's basically stalking. Like that's fucked up. Don't do it. So Wall Street, I am sorry that you had to do it. I really am. That breaks my heart, and I just want people to be better towards each other, be kind, because this world's ugly and we're about to go through some major shit, and we're gonna need each other. Like, we've all of us have been around each other one way, shape, or another for what, 7 months, going on 8 months. I mean, we've built a solid community that we can actually lean on one another to be supportive and get through whatever's coming our way. We don't have the mind capacity to be dealing with, oh, well, can I trust this person not to grab my IP address, find out where I live, come to my house, and maybe if I've said something they, hurt me. Like, that's stupid, right? Like, that's not a thing. Hold says, my biggest fear with Ape Fest was Hedgies trying to get apes information. That's fair. But now that we know that it was one of our own, I'm not worried about Hedgies. Hedgies, fuck it. Whatever. Personal info will be arguably more important to protect than attendees after. Yeah, 100%. And this is, I'm so glad you said that. This is where I say, guys, when the MOASS happens, after the MOASS happens, this is why you don't go and get license plate that says anything with AMC or GameStop or MOASS or anything of the sort, because you are literally putting a target on your back. You're putting a target on there that, because this is national, this is global news, right? People know about this. And so if you have something on, you have your Lambo or your whatever you want to buy, and you have something that says anything about AMC or GameStop, people are going to go, oh, that person made a shit ton in the stock market. Guess what? I'm not going to go after them. You are supposed to just lay low. No one needs to know about it. You don't go brag about it or anything like that, because you don't want to be a target. Period. This is what I've been saying for a very, very, very long time. Okay? Like, you don't need to do it. That's why, my whole thing was, sell on the way down, or sell right before it, But when people ask, lying is one of the easiest things to indicate whenever you're talking to somebody and, if someone approaches you like, oh, hey, I remember you saying that you were in AMC or you were in GameStop. And you can be like, oh, yeah, I was, but I got out too soon, or, oh, I sold after it popped off. It doesn't matter if it's $5, $10, $100 after the peak or before the peak. It doesn't matter. But at the same time, you know that your face is not going to rat you out. You know that it's going to be like, yeah, well, I did sell on the way down. I missed it. I missed the peak. Damn. I was just too slow, right? Protect yourselves. That's all I can say with this. Protecting your life at this point. Last night I read case after case of lotto winners getting robbed, murdered, etc. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. At an alarming rate, apes need to always practice caution. Heck yeah. Exactly. Does anybody else have anything you want to add to what I've been talking about, or something else?
No, I agree 100%. And as far as my friends and family are concerned, I sold back in January. So no one knows any better. I'm perfectly content with them thinking that.
Yeah, I tend to completely agree with you, Ken. I think all of us, when this thing goes, keep to yourself. spend the money on things that you really want to spend the money on, but you don't need to be flashy. If you want to be flashy, be prepared to spend some money on some private security too.
Yep, I agree. Tudeman, do you have something?
Just from an overall perspective, and I don't know anybody personally, so all I can do is just sort of share my life's experiences. People are going to find out if you have money, and it's not because you're going to directly let that be known, but bankers are going to get to know you, and wherever your money's parked, people are going to be able to search you out. So my experience has been, you just tend to kind of protect yourself just because you're a target. Doesn't matter if it comes from AMC or anything. Once you sort of get a little bit of financial momentum, you'll be shocked at how people can figure out, how'd you get my number again? It's like out of the blue. It's like, okay, my number's not listed. I'd like to know how you get it. And, you sort of start realizing that, if you buy a certain kind of house or a certain kind of car, your name is going to get put into a system, and you might not like it, but that's the way this country works.
That's actually very good to know about, things that you buy, putting your name into a system. Like, that's where everyone that's been in this Discord with me or around me, like, everyone's always been saying, like, win Lambo. And I'm, like, literally looking at, like, a Lexus, like a Lexus SUV, right? Like, it's $52,000, I think. And I'm just like, that's what I'm happy with, because at the end of the day, like, one, I don't want to be paying the maintenance on a supercar. I don't want to pay the insurance on a supercar. If somebody wrecks into it, I don't want to deal with it. Like, it's more headache and more hassle than I could even wrap my head around. So it's like, gosh, I've gotten to, with our photography stuff, I've gotten to go and, like, shoot these McLarens, these $250,000 cars, and yes, they are gorgeous, they are amazing, they are super cool. Oh hell no, that thing would probably stay in my driveway and never be driven. Like, it's craziness, The biggest thing I could say, maybe an estate, like, if you have family members, like, I have my parents living with us, and if my sister and brother-in-law wanted to move in, have an estate where it has a bunch of land or something like that that's kind of tucked back away from a road, cool, go do that. That's an investment, right? You can actually, utilize the land and do things with it, and help family members that need it, or if you want to, do a dog rescue or something, I don't know, but just be smart about what you're spending money on too. You buy things that will appreciate in value. Like, you don't want to go and spend all this time that we've been investing and doing DD and doing research and learning how the stock market does, to go and buy things that depreciate the minute you take it off the lot, right? That doesn't make sense. Like, at least that's my ideas, right? That's just how I think. I could be totally wrong in how most people think, but my 2 cents.
So there's a reason why you hear the term trust funds, or people put things in trust. It's for a few reasons, but one of the reasons is a trust fund, they'll never be able to figure out who is the money in a trust fund. It just becomes a trust fund, and so you have that shield. So I don't know if y'all have been thinking about any exit plans, and again, everybody's in a different spot here. So I'm going to tell you from, again, my life, and I'm 61 years old, so I've had a chance to get my ass kicked a couple of times. I'm already going to tell you, I'm going to be a trust fund, and I'm not going to tell any one of y'all what my trust fund is, and that's okay. That's why they're there. It's to protect the people from becoming targets. And the other thing I was going to share is, I can guarantee you the attorneys only have interest in suing you if you've got something that they can get from you. So if they know they can't touch you, you're not going to get sued for things that a lot of people take for granted. I mean, if you happen to get into an automobile accident and you've got you think your butt's covered with all your insurance and you got money, they're going to sue you for more than your insurance policy is, because they know you personally have it. So I'm just sort of giving you guys a little bit of a heads up. I don't care what your positions are. I don't care, if this is a lot of money to you or not. Start now realizing that as you keep building wealth, these problems, if you don't already get yourself educated, by the time it's a problem, it's going to be too late.
100% agree. 100%.
Prepare yourself for that. Yeah, trust funds are there for a reason.
Yeah, we've talked about trusts, like charitable trusts and regular trusts, and just kind of figuring out a way to, store wealth, right? Because your bank account can only hold so much, and it's only insured by the FDIC for so much, and so if it's the easiest way to navigate that. Plus, you can always have it, set to where you get X amount paid out to you monthly or yearly or whatever. And so it's one of those funny little tidbits. Like I was reading, like, the wealthiest people keep a net zero bank account.
Yep. On paper, I look horrible, and that's exactly where I want to keep it. Like, I'll give you an example. I own real estate outright, but if anybody does any checking, they're going to see it completely mortgaged past the value, and that's because I have, private paperwork with other people that have money, and we just put these instruments in place that if anybody wants to come after my house, you guys have got a hell of a liability before you can even touch its value. And I don't care if they don't like it. That's the way it is. I mean, I'm not going to be ashamed of what I've learned.
Yeah, 100%. Citadel, did you have something to add?
No, I was going to say it's 100% spot on. I, not legal or financial advice, but I've parked real estate that I've accumulated over the past few years in LLCs. I mean, they're paid outright. And then my family has real estate in a trust, so very similar thing for tax purposes and for estate planning. But personally, I use LLCs because they're pretty much blind. And even if they find out who owns the LLC, they can't come after, like the assets personally, which is beneficial. I 100% agree with the net zero bank account. It's a solid idea, especially as you move up in banking and wealth management, we'll call it.
Existent, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm learning a little bit here. No, I agree. The trusts, I've always looked at trusts primarily for kind of a storage of assets, especially when it comes to kind of real estate type assets. Obviously, LLCs were mentioned, and an LLC is a business, so generally you want an LLC that's doing some kind of business function. I know IRS isn't always happiest with a business structure that's not being used for business. But it certainly is a good way to, if you have a passion that you like to bake cakes, for instance, you start a business baking cakes, and you've got a payroll to bake cakes once a month, and you've got a business, and you're doing everything completely legal and above board, and you're protecting your money from personal liabilities.
Generally, the IRS frowns on LLCs or LLPs, partnerships, etc., that consistently lose money year after year, and you expect an audit around year 3 or 5 if you're showing partnership returns with losses. They'll come in and say that your business is not a business and it's a hobby, and they'll dissolve you.
Yep.
Yep.
So I hope everyone's taking notes, and if not, you can definitely still go back to the YouTube channel and kind of write down all of this again. But no, I do think that that's really a nice idea to, start businesses. It's a big thing that I've been seeing a lot of the apes talk about is they want to actually own their own businesses, and so, definitely start looking into it. This is the time, when you're not stressed and too much about your exit strategy, start forming it. See what you want to do with your life, and how to keep your wealth going. Like, wealth, builds wealth. There's a big difference, and I try to reiterate this. There's a big difference between being rich and wealthy, and if you have to ask me, I would rather be wealthy 100% of the time, because you can stay wealthy if you know how to keep that going. So yeah, and on top of that, and then I do want to keep everyone, everyone's minds to the next steps too, right? Like AMC and GME, yeah, it's the MOASS. So it's the meme stocks are the MOASS, but it's not the final play, right? Like we have more things to look at. If the MOASS is happening, then we're looking, probably close to a market correction. We'll say that way. And we can play the market down. We can, invest into commodities. We can invest into the real estate market that, if it busts, you could go buy the foreclosures. You can, turn them into rentals, or you can flip them, or what have yous. And this goes for commercial real estate too. I have this goal with my husband to, buy up some of these like dead malls. Like malls are dying. Like these enclosed malls, they're just like, I have one very close to my house that's pretty dead. And basically going and finding those and repurposing them, like they have those big anchor stores in them, like basically splitting those up, turning them into, different types of apartments or condos, and then using the other smaller shops for like little local owners that they can go in and they can kind of have their own little storefronts, or just turning the entire mall into like a little like community basically. So or taking the other idea was to take these high rises, because these businesses are figuring out, oh, we don't need the overhead cost of an office building or office space because people can work from home. And, basically doing vertical greenhouses, every floor is a different, food, you can grow almost anything in a greenhouse now. And just kind of doing that and repurposing what some of these structures are, because I mean, if they're just sitting empty, they're not doing the communities any service at all. So those are just two ideas.
So,
Yes.
you touched a little bit, and I'm not going to, if you're not ready to segue out of this, we won't, but you touched on the lawsuit by topic a little early in your conversation, and I kind of wanted to put that as something to discuss tonight, just because I've got some thoughts on that, but I don't want to get there until you're ready.
Oh, we can go right into it. Let's hear it.
So Wes Christensen, I forget his last name. He seems to be a stand-up SEC guy as far as an attorney, knows what needs to be done. And while I support that he's very much in favor of using AMC as his example to take to court, and God bless him. I mean, I love the guy for wanting to be able to do it. I think I watched an interview that he was in. He's like, if it wasn't for y'all, the apes, he would never be able to feel like he had a chance of being able to go forward, because he never has a large enough group of people that he can represent that it doesn't make him go broke getting there. And so the premise behind him wanting to use the AMC MOASS as a precedent to go before, I guess, whatever court in the land he's going to go before is great. My thoughts are going to be to the community, God bless him, but don't do it before the squeeze is done, because as you touched on, this can be tied up for 3, 4, 5 years, and it would fall right into the hedge fund's hands if he was able to get a lawsuit started.
No, you're absolutely correct. And so what we found was interesting with Wes Christian is that Lady talked to Renzel, who had done the interview with Wes for Super Stonks, and whenever they were doing that, and he had said at that point like he was just too busy to do it. And so they've really been kind of diving into him, and you come to find out, like, and this is just what I'm hearing. This is not my opinion or anything like that, just hearsay. Is that he's kind of like an ambulance chaser, is what some people are saying, is that he just kind of goes after the things that may or may not make him some money or something. But so I do still need to dive into that more and figure out where that's coming from. Not that he's not a great attorney or anything like that. Like, I think he has good intentions for sure, but if they're wanting to tie up, like, it's not just AMC, like the thing that the Chad guy or whatever, that was like, they were trying to go after all the meme stocks, and that throws a huge red flag up to me, because if you're trying to tie up all the meme stocks into litigation, there's not a hope for all of the apes, right? Like, I mean, that you're talking, Meta, you're talking
Right.
AMC, GME, Ocugen, Naked, BlackBerry, like all of these companies, and that would not be good. So no, afterwards, yeah, heck yeah, after MOASS, now that when we actually have the concrete proof, like right now it's all speculation, right? We can't figure it out, but my theory is that once the MOASS happens, there's your proof, right? Like if a MOASS happens, that means that these stocks have been completely just obliterated and manipulated to a point where they were shorted that much, and then we'd actually have the data and we could pull it. So, just not jumping the gun on it. So I totally agree. I agree not to do it yet.
Well, I think the other thing we have to kind of remember, when you wear an attorney's hat, they think in different terms than we do in the scheme of what seems to be the right thing to do. After the squeeze is done, what's he going to represent us for? It's not like we got damages at that point. You see my point? He's like, there is no money from him, because we don't have damages if we all got a bunch of money in our pockets. And so he's trying to convince, for the right reasons, he's trying to say, hey, litigate now while we've got the evidence to support it. Otherwise, I don't have enough clients. He's going to be suing who? The hedge funds? Hell, they'll keep him tied up for 15 years, and he'll be using his own money. That's kind of what I think people need to realize. When you use the term ambulance chasers, attorneys don't do anything unless they're going to make money doing it. And that's all a lawsuit means to them, as a way to make money, just like us buying a stock. We don't do it to lose money. So I don't have anything against how they think. I just have everything against the idea of, what is he representing me for? If I made a ton of money, I don't care if he sues anybody or not. I'm done. Now, if you want to go change the SEC and the way things are done, have at it, Wes, but I don't think I'm putting a bill for that out of my pocket. I'll let my government do that.
Yeah, see, I didn't understand the whole thing with, like, who he was suing. Like, who are they actually... Like, to me, it would be more or less, you got to chase after the DTCC and the SEC, because, they're turning a blind eye. Yeah, they've put these rules and regulations into play, but they're not doing anything. Like, right? Like, we've been hyping all these, like, new rules and stuff that they've come out with, but we don't see any difference. We don't see it, go to different heights and stuff when these rules are in play. They just find new loopholes around it. So, Citadel, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think we were all introduced to Wes, and it kind of got spun that he was going to start litigating. And in my experience, in a case like this where you're seeking damages, most attorneys, if not all, will take it on a contingent basis. So there's kind of a red flag there when there was this GoFundMe, like, help me pay this retainer to hire Wes Christian. And so a little digging, and basically the funds that were being raised for the fee-for-service agreement or retainer was simply for investigatory reasons. So he was just going to investigate for 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, who knows. And the initial estimate was 6 months. Any monies that were allegedly going up and going for the retainer and the fee for service was simply to investigate, to see if there is evidence, see if there is fraud, poking and prodding. And at that point, then they would, based on whatever evidence they find, they would move forward. But I mean, we're talking about, a $10 million expenditure here, easily. Which is fine if some people want to get together, post MOASS, post squeeze, etc. But anything that's going to throw a wrench in, I mean, the SEC gets word of that, a lawyer is investigating, and possibly the second any litigation's filed, they're going to suspend the stock for at least 2 weeks, if not indefinitely, which is antithetical to the entire movement per se.
The hedge fund is just one.
Bingo.
Yep. So I don't want this to be construed as I think Wes Christian is working for the hedge funds. Quite the contrary. I think he's their arch enemy. But, he knows he's going to be going up against major attorneys, and, he doesn't have the means to pull this off. From what I can see, not to say that the guy isn't quite capable, but when you're starting to talk about suing the U.S. government and the hedge funds, which are some of the richest institutions you're going to go up against, he doesn't stand a chance. And so, from my perspective, look, I'm not going to have any damages. If I've made money, just go away and leave me alone. I'm not going to throw money at an attorney to go try and figure out how many years it's going to take him to run out of money, because it ain't going to take long. He'll just keep asking for more. And it's, as long as he gets getting paid, he doesn't care if he wins or loses. He gets to keep his name in the thing. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to attorneys, but when I listen to what he's up against, I'm like, dude, how are you ever going to be, you got to be 100 times stronger and have more money than you've ever made in your life to go against these animals. it really is going to require government to make change. Now, he might be able to bring suit against the SEC and get some traction. But as far as hedge funds, I think Ken Griffin he's been sued so many times. This is like, water off a duck's back.
100%. And my other area of concern was, the attorney just can't arbitrarily bring a suit, against a fund, against the government, etc. He needs to represent someone, one. So when just because there's a GoFundMe and people donated to it does not mean that he's actually representing them. There needs to be a separate letter of engagement for each person he's representing. And two, there has to be, damages need to be qualified and then quantified, which will probably be very difficult to do. But if anyone wants to go ahead privately and put something in motion later, that's fine by me. I mean, I have no interest in it, just speaking for myself. But I was getting mildly concerned when people were throwing out there that, it was certainly litigation and that he's here to represent all 4.1 million apes. And that's when I started throwing a flare up saying, no. This does not represent me.
Right. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to, when I asked you before what the topics were, and you said you didn't have any, I thought, I'm just a nobody, and we're not a very large group of people, but what I'm learning is y'all are in social media. I mean, that turns into 100,000 people before you know it. So I just sort of wanted to plant these thoughts into people's heads in case they hadn't been thinking along those lines. I got nothing against attorneys suing people. I mean, everybody's got to make a living, and I got nothing against Wes Christian. But nobody's going to sue on my behalf unless I'm sending some paperwork. And like you just pointed out, Citadel, it's not a given just because he says he's representing apes. Hey, my name on any of that paperwork anywhere, so leave me out of it.
I hear you, my friend.
No, and I definitely appreciate the input too in the topics. No, we are not a big community just yet. Between all of us and the BullHouse and people that tweet, yeah, we can, we get the videos out and stuff. I mean, they easily go, I think we've had the highest was like 300 views. And we can talk about this stuff on and off all the time. We'll get bigger. So that's kind of the joy that I find, that we do cover broad market. We get to talk about these topics. We don't have to just talk about AMC, GME, just the stocks themselves. We talk about what's going on with them and how that affects everything, right? So, I mean, we'll grow. We get to get these concerns out more and more and get people thinking about the broad market aspects of it because, gosh, like I said, it wouldn't just be AMC and GME. They start, hinting around that they're going to go after all the meme stocks. That's half the market. Like, if you're looking at, the manipulation aspect of this, like that would probably halt most of the market at this point because of how they're shorting different stocks and manipulating other stocks, and they could be padding SPY and stuff like that because there's no reason that SPY and NASDAQ and everything, they're still running like they are.
Right.
Yeah, they've had a couple down days, but it's time for them to correct, and we're not seeing that yet. And I am very curious as to what that correction is going to look like because it's going to be gnarly. It's going to, oof. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, if you guys want to chase it afterwards and figure out who the hell you're actually supposed to be suing, because that's my biggest thing is like, whenever I first heard about that lawsuit, I was like, are you suing hedge funds because they haven't paid you yet for their manipulation? Like, that seems wonky to me.
Yeah, Your Honor, my client sold at $500 a share. We think you should have gotten $750, and we don't think it's fair the way that turned out. The judge is going to say, well, what did he pay? 10? And you got damages how? I mean, it's like, how much greed are you trying to have us litigate over here? So I just don't see how that's going to be a winning strategy. If we're all making money, Wes, what's your damages? Who got hurt here?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So, First Strike Tyson saying most viewed video for us was Dr. T Part 1 with 1,686 views. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait. So, and this is where I will say, guys, tomorrow at 4:30 we are having part 2 with Dr. Trimbath. It will be a Zoom call with her, so we won't be in Discord, so you guys won't be able to do this. But you guys are definitely welcome. It's a live stream on YouTube. It's a special day that we're doing it, so it's a bonus for this week. Because I didn't think she'd want to be up at like 10 o'clock at night doing a podcast. So. But yeah, so hopefully you guys can join us for that tomorrow. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really cool. Last time I had looked, it was like 300 some odd views, so that's pretty cool.
So, Bill, I'm going to have to go to bed here pretty soon. You're going to have to be my MMAT pep talk by the end of my day here. So give it to me, buddy. Tell me how we're going to be doing great here someday soon. Today was a great day, but I'm still kind of like, all right, tell me what you think, Citadel, on MMAT. At the beginning of it, starting to finally head the right direction for a while, or obviously you're not my financial advisor, but you've been pretty solid in some of the stuff you put on the chat.
I think there's obviously not financial advice, do your own due diligence, trust but verify, etc., yada yada. I think there's a lot of positive momentum in their future. It's definitely turned into a long position for me, and I'm keeping a close eye on the short interest. I think it decreased, if I'm not mistaken, a bit, but I think we're finally starting to see some positive traction and momentum in the right direction, especially after watching I forget the conference that they presented at, but I dialed into their 15-minute conference. Although I had kind of a perfunctory or cursory overview of the company and what they did, once I saw the product in hand and the potential applications and uses, I felt a lot better about my cost basis is a little on the high side, to be frank. I felt better about that after watching their presentation. I'm not sure if you're able to catch that or not.
I haven't seen any news. Have you any idea or any insight as to what was our good pop today?
I'm sorry, that was somewhat broken up.
I'm sorry. So, Citadel, do you have any insight as to what gave us our good pop today? I mean, I'm not complaining at all. I just couldn't see any basis by which we should have seen that happen today. Any thoughts?
Tyson may be better qualified. I could speculate, but I suspect he has a more succinct answer, not to put him on the spot.
Yeah, put him on the spot.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's some weird stuff going on online that I'm seeing. Like there's like a news catalyst coming out right now that the merger completed today, which doesn't make any sense to me, from Torchlight to Meta. I also saw a news article this morning saying that Meta was trading higher because oil and gas struck a deal with OPEC and whatever else, which is totally not what Meta Materials is at all. So I think that there's just some confusion still out there in the market. Yesterday's chart, I did TA this morning around 2:30, saying that it looked like there could be some buyers coming in for today, just based on the chart itself. And they did come in. All the weird stuff with the news today that I'm seeing just doesn't make any sense. I'll take it as a win today. I think it got eyes on the stock. We were up at one point, we were up over 20%. So people are going to notice that. Especially like people like myself, day traders, trend traders, they're going to see that. And then they're going to, like, for me, I'll see a company like that and then I'll kind of research it. I'll buy into a stock like that early. And then I'll go research it and be like, okay, what the fuck am I in? Like, what's going on here? As the stock's still going up, because I don't have anything to worry about. So I'll go research it. And then people will actually, will see what this is actually what it is. And you will see, I think we're going to have a decent week ahead of us. And a lot of us are at pretty high cost basis right now, or average. But this is the stock for the future, you guys. Like, I have I'm convinced that they're going to be an $80 stock in the next year. Once they start passing out once they show all their patents and everything else, it's the stock. Regardless of a squeeze or not, this is going to be a stock that you can hold for like the rest of your life, and you're going to make money. I feel like I've done enough DD and enough research from everywhere else that this could be like the Amazon. I wouldn't say Amazon, maybe like an Apple or a Microsoft for our generation. I'm 36, so that's the kind of way that I look at it. But I think that they're going to grow pretty quickly. They have no debt. They have a runway for at least 16 months based on what their cash flow is right now. And I think we're going to have some partnership news coming out pretty soon. I think that George Palikaris, the CEO, is just being careful with not saying too much too early.
Quiet period, yeah.
Right, and I think the other part of it too, this has been going on for a long time in December. Like, George has been wanting to torch the shorts for a long time since it was, once Torchlight. This has been something that he's been kind of pushing on for a long time, is short squeezing the hedge funds. And we still have people that aren't actually converted over from MMATF. Vanguard has not released the conversion from MMATF to MMAT. So there's a lot still in limbo land during all of this. So at least you're not, if you don't have Vanguard, at least you're lucky enough to not, if you wanted to sell, you could, right? Like, these people are just in limbo land. They can't do anything.
Right.
So to me, that's kind of concerning. I think George is trying to wait for everything to right itself before he comes out with anything major for news as well. So I don't think it's just the quiet period. I think it's a matter of him knowing that all of his investors are going to be able to profit from a squeeze. So I think over time we're going to do just fine. Failure to delivers from the end of June could have had a play in today. Short interest it's been wonky. Like last night I was watching it when the market wasn't even open, and it would change. It would go from down 5% to negative 9% in the middle of the night. So it was very weird. And then this morning it was up, and then it was down. We ended the day up like 9% short interest today. So people, they shorted this thing all the way down to where we're at. I don't think a lot of people sold. I think there's a lot of people in the same shoes as we are in, and they also know what the company is and what's going on, and I think they're just all holding. I'm on Moomoo, and I go into the comment section there, and everybody's holding. Nobody's selling really, so and a lot of people are in the same price basis as us, like the 10s, 8s, 10s. A lot of people have averaged down to 6 or 7, 8, so I'm just gonna, the squeeze could still happen. Like I said, there's a lot of FTDs at the end of June, so we're kind of coming up on those. T35. So pay attention. Just keep your eye on it. I wish I was on more so I could kind of lead you guys. Kind of like be a commentary guy on in the market chat, but I can't right now. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about all of that. I think we're in a good place. If you can average down, I would, but you don't have to. It's going to be a stock for the future for sure.
So I'm about ready to sign off. I want to just say, by saying, when a man gives me a pep by saying,
Tudeman, you're breaking up really bad.
Yeah, I lost you.
Okay, about now we better?
That's a little better.
Okay, I said I'm about ready to sign off. I just wanted to close by saying, whenever I ask somebody to give me a pep talk and his first sentence is, I buy and then figure out what the fuck I bought after I'm in, I'm like, I admire this man already.
Well, and I bought Torchlight back in December.
Mm-hmm.
So I did all my research then, but if I would have saw MMAT today and I wasn't already in it, I probably would have bought in, seeing all the strength all of a sudden, because I saw the chart last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling that today was going to be a good day. I usually don't post TA on a daily basis by any means, but last night the chart looked really well, and I was like, this has a chance to pop off, and so I posted the TA, and then today I got lucky and buyers came in. Thankfully, today's chart looks freaking awesome as well. We broke the trend line from the 1 day, from the dailies. We broke that trend line. I think we're actually just barely touching the top of it, so we're trying to break through that still. On the hourly chart, we broke above the trend line there, and we're looking really good. After I'd say late in the afternoon, we had kind of a pullback, and then we actually saw us bounce back up after. I think it was like right around 360. We saw a bounce back up to like 380 or so, and we closed out at 380, which to me is just awesome for a stock. You want to consolidate at the end of the day after a stock runs up like this. You don't want to see it pop up and just die back down. So I think people are going to look at this chart again today and see that there was strength. And like I said, they'll start looking at the company itself and realize what they actually might be holding here. And I think the stock market's changed a lot in a short period of time, really. So you can buy into a stock and go and Google it and be like, wow, this is what I'm holding right now, and it's already running up. Like, I'm staying in this for the rest of my life, right? Like, so that's just what's amazing about the internet and everything. So I feel good for tomorrow. I think we're going to be, 450. I'd love to see us get back to 5. I don't want to get back to 5 now because I want to freaking average. I'm waiting for my deposit to clear so I can buy more. And I wanted to buy this morning, like really bad, and it didn't come in. So I was like, "Yep, today's gonna run." Like my deposit didn't show up. The chart looks good from yesterday, and it did run. So, oh well, it is what it is. But yeah, I would expect that the 1 hour chart down trend line, if we start trending backwards again, I think we'll use that as support. But I honestly don't think we're going to be. I don't think we're going to be back down in the 3. We might bounce off like 360 in the morning, and then probably find some buying power after that. So we'll just see what happens. This morning, if you follow the last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you go back 8 days straight, first thing in the morning, instant drop. Today, instant rise. Instant buying pressure. So that's a good feeling to have. The buyers outmanage the shorts, and I expect the same thing tomorrow.
Well, good. Now I can sleep a little better tonight, knowing that 420 might be realistic. And I never thought I'd be using the term 420 as a good day, but if we get 420 tomorrow, it'll be a good day.
Yeah, I think we could definitely hit 420 or 450 tomorrow. And we'll just keep. I think we've got a good uptrend going from here, so we'll just have to wait and see.
All right. Well, thanks for the input. I'm going to have to go ahead and sign off, guys. So
yeah, go right ahead, sir.
Yep.
You're good. You as well. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Peterman. So I will leave off with this. So I found this funny little post. First Strike, can you mute your mic?
No. Maybe. Just give me a second. I'm working while I'm talking here, so
Thank you. There was just feedback. I could hear myself. But I found this post yesterday on MMAT's subreddit by OK Bed. I don't know if anyone else saw this, but I kind of had a laugh. So the title of this is "This Guy Will Exist. Don't Let Him Be You." And it says, "I'm sure there's a guy that bought Torch at $10 just for the dividend. This person held through the merger and finally decided to paper hand for a 70% loss when MMAT hit $5. This guy probably feels good right now seeing the current price, but this will soon change. When, not if, but when MMAT failure delivers are finally covered due to the QSIP number change, the price of MMAT will take off. Mr. $5 paper hands will see MMAT go from $217 to $27.50 in 1 day. Mr. Paperhands will be kicking himself in the ass, not realizing it's about to get much worse. So the next day comes and Paperhands tells himself that he won't FOMO back into MMAT. Market opens and the price jumps over $50, quickly making its way to $60. Mr. Paperhands, now Mr. FOMO, decides to FOMO in at $57.90 because this was the squeeze that he had hoped for when he first bought Torch. The price finishes the day at $79 and Mr. FOMO is happy, for now. The next day, MMAT reaches $118.04. Mr. FOMO buys more at the $80 dip. Mr. FOMO posts hedgies or fucked memes with rockets and moon emojis. As the day progresses, the price steadily falls, finishing the day at $42. The next day, the price drops down $25 where Mr. FOMO decides to panic sell again, this time taking a 55% loss. Mr. FOMO hates MMAT now and decides that he would rather die before investing in it again. MMAT finally hits a floor channel of 18 and 1978, where it trades in for the next few months. Meanwhile, Mr. FOMO, now Mr. Lonely, is going through a divorce because he YOLO'd the kids' college fund into the stock market and paper-handed for an 87% loss. Mr. Lonely will spend the next 40 years working a dead-end job paying 25% child support for 15 of those 40 years. Mr. Lonely, now Mr. Grumpy, finally retires an old man that hardly sees his kids and grandkids anymore after his latest episode. You see, one of Mr. Lonely's grandkids was talking to him one day about stocks and she invested in. She mentions how she just bought 5 shares of MMAT for $22,235 and how that was a bargain. She says, "Can you believe this stock traded for less than $3 when it first got listed on the NASDAQ?" Mr. Grumpy has paper-handed PTSD and throws his dentures at his grandchild. Long story short, Mr. Grumpy dies broke, old, and alone because he paper-handed MMAT for a loss. Don't be Mr. Grumpy. Not financial advice or life advice. Only you know your financial situation. So I found that yesterday and I had a good laugh about it. I was like, man, that is so true, right? So, if you guys have anything to say with it. Oh, let me have. Whoa. Sorry, guys. Set it up. Did you have something to say?
Oh, yes. The only thing the story was missing was referencing Mr. Paperhands spending the rest of his life working at Wendy's drive-thru.
Missed opportunity, but yeah, definitely. Hey, Toxic.
I feel like I had a missed opportunity. You know, when it hit about just above $3. What, yesterday? I think would have been a good time to average down.
I actually averaged down on MMAT today. I am officially down below $6.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
So what you're saying is you're going to be making money like tomorrow or the next day?
I'm hoping.
I think we're going to have a good week, dude. And I think as soon as Vanguard gets their shit fucking figured out, George is going to announce something. I really do. I think George is waiting. He's just waiting for all of his investors to be inside MMAT and not in some limbo land. If you haven't heard, Vanguard has not changed MMATF, converted it over to MMAT for the shareholders in Vanguard. Still to this day, so they've been in this limbo land this whole time. Like if they wanted to sell, they couldn't sell. So the one thing that I do worry is once they do get their shares, they might sell off their, what was it, like they might think that the shares that they got for free, or they'll just sell them because they're. I just think we might dip a little bit once that all goes through, but I don't think it'll be a significant enough a dip to put us back in what we just realized for like the last week or 8 days. So yeah, it's been 8 days.
It's been rough, hasn't it?
But yeah, you know, when it's like your pick and people buy into it, guess who doesn't sleep well at night?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Day Night says Mr. FOMO sounds like a paper-handed Portnoy. Kevin Morgan doubled his position in MMAT today. And D, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I also. Go ahead.
No, you first, sir.
I was actually going to say, I was just letting you guys finish talking, is also loaded up on some SNDL shares as well.
I haven't had Sundial since February or March or so. That was.
I think buying marijuana stocks, maybe American ones, might be a good catalyst because, just like in the last week or so, Democrats have been talking about federal regulations, not regulation.
Making it legal across the United States, and that's
right.
That's the reason why I loaded up on SNDL shares.
Right. So I'm thinking like call options for, I don't know, it's the government, so you might want to give yourself a runway, October, December, January.
I just bought the shares. It's cheap.
Yeah. Well, and you can't buy. There's probably not options for Sundial.
No, there is.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
What's it trading at?
88
cents.
It's 0.8815.
Huh.
It's 88 cents and 15th of a cent.
Yeah.
So I've actually loaded up. I've got 300 shares of SNDO. I mean, it's cheap. 100 shares is like $88. And this thing, if they turn around and they make it legal. I mean, that's all she wrote, dude. The SNDL is gonna be freaking. It's gonna be huge.
Right.
Ghetto Streams is saying BlackBerry calls are the move. Sundial options been killing me. I believe it.
Yeah, BlackBerry had a good day today, right?
I've been playing SPY, calls and puts. Not so much as puts for the past 2 days, but calls, man. Oh, I have made a killing.
That's awesome. So yeah, do we have any other questions, comments, concerns before we start wrapping this up for the night?
Yeah, I got one for you, Kenna.
Don't even.
Damn it.
Hoosier, I like this from Hoosier Ape about the little post or whatever, Mr. $5 paper hands. I'm gonna buy another 100 shares tomorrow in the name of $5 paper hands. It's so funny. I like it. Alright guys, it has been real, it's been fun, and we gotta just keep our wits about us. Yeah, like there's a lot of shit going on and a lot of unbelievable stuff that we covered earlier this podcast. And I just, gosh, I'm still pretty livid about it all. But we're gonna fight this. We're gonna fight through this, and they don't get to get away with using people that suffered through a tragedy to come after the apes. Like that's disgusting in so many different ways. So with that, again, tomorrow 4:30 Dr. Trimbath will be live on our YouTube if you guys would like to join us. We're doing part 2 of the questions because we didn't get through all the questions that we had for. And there'll be quite a few of the BullHouse team on with that. So I look forward to it. Thank you guys for joining me up here tonight. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
Kenna, if you're going to do the questions tomorrow, Lady never did let me know if she asked the last speaker that you had. Are you guys going to be asking questions about like AMC and stuff?
We had a set of questions that we'd already submitted to her so that she could research it, and it's broad market stuff. We're not really doing like AMC GME questions. It's really just like educational broad market information that we really cherish that she knows. So we have those. We have a pretty good list of questions that we had for her.
The reason why I was asking is because the other speaker you guys had, there was one question in particular that I think that nobody would even think to ask, and I can't think of what the guy's name was.
You, Enrique?
But it might have been.
Yeah, Enrique.
No.
There was the question that I wanted to ask, and I would like to have it from somebody else, that has the naming behind them, the backing and stuff like that. Is Why the heck hasn't AMC done a forced recall yet?
I can try to. If you send me that, I can try to get it in there maybe.
Because
Well,
forced.
Dr. Trimbath she actually asked us not to ask about
Dark pools
short
and all that stuff, yeah.
dark pools and everything else. She basically asked us to talk about broader markets and things like that. She's done a lot of interviews about dark pools and all the other stuff. So she wanted to come on and just do market thing. But I think Kenna could probably sneak it in there tomorrow. She's pretty good at stuff like that.
That's not dark pool.
No, right, she didn't want to talk about shorts at all.
She doesn't want to talk. We really were trying to, like, she's a wealth of information, right? And, you know, I'm sure we can figure out that question for someone else for sure. Because she's just, her broad market, her understanding of how the market works, and hell, we might actually get the answers to that with some of the questions that we have anyway. You know, why companies don't do forced recalls or anything, because I think you actually have to have like a suspicion or things like that, or proof that your stock is being manipulated.
No, not with the forced recall. Forced recall is if it stays above 75% utilization for 31 days, because forced recall normally happens once every 8 years, unless the stock is above 75% utilization for 31 days. And I don't understand why none of these stocks that are above 75% utilization for 31 days hasn't done a forced recall.
Yeah, we can definitely ask that. I think that'll be okay, maybe.
I mean,
if we have time.
It's not even.
Yeah,
it's not even just on AMC. It's like there's multiple, and I don't understand why. You know, some of these companies aren't doing it.
Yeah, we can see about it definitely. So.
Because like, even if you think about it, like, if they started doing more forced recalls, shorts would probably not get involved with those with that stock as much, because then they'd be like, they fucking forced recalled us and we've lost a lot of money. You know, like, I can see that being a positive thing for the stock market, right? Like, you want to scare the bears away. I mean, obviously some bears are good. Like, shorting is a good thing for some stocks, right? But that's like a totally different topic, and we could go on and on and on forever. But I think that's you bring up a good point.
I mean, utilization staying above 75% for months on end is not right.
No, it's not. It's not. And I'll actually look into some of that too in the next day or so, see what I can find as well. But alright guys, I appreciate you guys coming out, and I hope it was entertaining for you all. We will see you guys again soon.